What's up, everybody? It's Matt from TDM Style here. Welcome back to the channel once again. And this weekend we're doing something a little bit different. This is my first, I guess, proper fragrance review because this week we are talking about Vert Gothique, which is the re-release and rebrand of Morris Motley's Oakmoss fragrance. So if you've been around for a while, you might remember that I did kind of a first impressions of a sample that I had of this almost 3 years ago now, actually, back when I was also checking out their initial release of their clay cleanser shampoo. So if you haven't seen that video, don't worry about it, doesn't matter. So a very quick recap this is the recap now. I enjoyed the fragrance, very much so, but I was very taken aback by the price tag. I thought it was way expensive, but I also knew nothing about fragrances then, really. You know, I'd used colognes and things, but I didn't know anything about, the differences between eau de cologne, eau de toilette, eau de parfum, extrait de parfum. That didn't sound French at all, but I'm going to try it again later, so stay tuned. And, the differences in price between, high street fragrances, designer fragrances, niche fragrances, and the whole 9 yards. So now I've done some research, so I feel like this deserved a proper review for itself. Originally, I was going to do this as a product revisit video and talk about this and some other Morris Motley stuff, but spoiler alert, I love this fragrance so much that I think it deserves its own video. So here we are. So let's crack into a bitch and get started as usual with packaging and pricing. I'm not going to be tossing this bottle in the air like I normally would with hair products, though, because, it's glass. And although it's very thick and heavy glass, it's very expensive, so I'm not gonna throw that in the air. So like I said, this is Vert Gothique. This is Morris Motley's rebranded version of their Oakmoss fragrance. It is exactly the same fragrance, they've just changed the name, and the bottle actually is different than the initial release was as well. The price is about the same. The initial release was $250 US. This current one is $270, so we've gone up a smidge. Yeah, so back when I did that first impressions video, I was like, $250, oh my God! But like I said, I've done my research, and so this, by fragrance standards, I guess, this would be considered a niche fragrance. Designer fragrances are the ones made by those gigantic brands like Tom Ford or fucking Ferrari, because if you want to smell like a car or something, I don't know, every Calvin Klein, all these giant names, big conglomerates that make all kinds of stuff. Many of them make fragrances, and now that's not, designers also have their own niche fragrances. Like Tom Ford has the private blends, and the prices of those fragrances are close to this or exceeding that. I mean, look at one of the most, what I would consider probably one of the most popular fragrances amongst men for some reason is Creed Aventus, which, I mean, it's $420 goddamn dollars. That's okay. So with that in mind, I mean, this is still $270, so it is still, that's a good chunk of change. This is a 100 milliliter bottle, so it's about 3.4-ish ounces, which is a lot. It's a lot of perfume. And as we'll talk about in a minute, you don't need to use a lot of it, so it is going to last a long time. I do also want to mention now, though, before I forget about it, the guys over at Morris Motley did also say they are working on releasing a 50 milliliter bottle, I believe sometime this summer. I don't have exact dates or anything because it's still in the works. But for the record, I think that that's a great idea because obviously, so that's half the amount. So I'm assuming it will be probably about half the price, which I think is a really smart move because that just makes this a lot more accessible. Now, digging a little bit deeper on the packaging. So the bottle itself, as I mentioned a moment ago, is very heavy glass. It feels very just thick and nice. I don't know. It's a, smooth, polished bottle. The only thing on there is this little label on the front that just says Vert Gothique, Vert Gothique. Extrait de Parfum, 100 milliliters, Morris Motley. That's all you need. What more do you need on the bottle? It looks nice. And as very on brand with Morris Motley's stuff, it's very minimal. There's not a lot of text. There's not too much going on. It's just, here it is. And which I like that. It looks great on a shelf. Now, in terms of the hardware, the cap, which I really like, is magnetic. So, yeah, it's satisfying. And it's a pretty strong magnet, so it's not like it's going to come flying off if you're... I don't know what you would be doing to make a magnetic cap fly off anyway, even if it wasn't a very strong magnet. But it is, so don't worry about it. And as far as the atomizer itself, I'm going to see if I can get some smooth, slow motion 60 FPS action here. If I can't, though, you'll just have to imagine it, I guess. But it is a really nice atomizer, so you get a really fine mist. It's very easy, so you can actually do like a half a spritz if you wanted to. So it works great. And in terms of the external packaging, so we have the box here that the bottle itself is in. This is kind of this nice, like, matte, almost like heather textured, like charcoal gray with black lettering on it. And it's very hard cardboard. On the back of the box, we have the fragrance notes, which we'll talk about in a minute. On the front of the box, we just have Vert Gothique, Extrait de Parfum, and a little quote from the perfumer here, whose name is escaping me at the moment, so I'll just put that on the screen. This says, a work around an aromatic leather with cocaine accord. I wanted an addictive note. So more on that in a minute. And now the box itself, of course, slides out from the bottom. Just very satisfying. It's like an Apple product box. Like, it just feels nice. I don't know. And of course, it's got this little insert in here, so it's very protected. There's some nice foam inside of there, and then this little guy helps to keep the top of the bottle in place. So that was one thing that I was kind of concerned about, this coming overseas. I'm like, man, it's gonna suck so much ass if it shows up and it's just like the mail carrier like threw it out the truck and like the bottle is smashed. Like, I would be heartbroken. But thankfully, that's pretty much impossible because you've got this very, very sturdy box that it's in, and then that was inside of this. It says Discovery Collection on it because, to my surprise, I got this in the mail, and he also sent me his newest iterations of the clay cleanser shampoo and his anti-dandruff shampoo. So the three of those were inside of this, and actually... So we've even got, Morris Motley on the cardboard. And the box literally still smells like the fragrance, which is fun. So inside the box, it was wrapped up with nice black tissue paper with a little Vert Gothique sticker, keeping it all neat and tidy. That box was inside of this bag, which is pretty neat. Got that little, the eyeball with from the Oakmoss photo campaign there. And then, everything, all of this stuff was inside of the external shipping box. So there were multiple layers of protection, which was nice because as I was like pulling it out and like taking off all these layers of packaging, it like reassured me like, okay, when I get inside, the bottle's not going to be broken. So that was really nice. And all the packaging is very just, I don't know, it just feels high end. So like you're paying a premium price tag and you're getting a premium unboxing experience, I guess you could say. Oh my God. All right, now we can talk about what you're actually here to talk about, the fragrance itself and what it smells like and how long it lasts and all of that good stuff. So, as I mentioned on the outside of the box, we have the main notes of the fragrance. So we have Oakmoss at the top, as you would probably expect, followed by leather, cocaine, cedarwood, white pepper, and patchouli. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the fragrance itself has not changed from when it was called Oakmoss. It's just a rebrand. So if you had this before and were wondering, it is the same fragrance, which is exciting because that's what I wanted when I was waiting for it to come out. So I think really the only proper way to sample this, we're gonna put some on. Now this is something, so actually before I do that, so I wanna mention, this is an I can't do it. I can't make French word sounds, which is really disappointing because French is such a beautiful sounding language and I'm just making it sound awful right now. Extrait de Parfum. This is the strongest possible concentration of a fragrance that you can get. So very quickly, if you're new to the fragrance world, like I pretty much still am, in terms of the strength and kind of endurance of scents, and as well as what affects the price also, you have basically at the very low end of the spectrum, you have your eau de cologne, which is essentially like an aftershave. It's very not concentrated. Then you have your eau de toilette, which are most fragrances, most popular, especially for men. Eau de Parfum, which are a little more expensive, a little stronger, and also those seem to be most popular for women's fragrances for whatever reason. And then at the top of the chain, you have the Extrait de Parfum. Whatever. This is the strongest that you can get. So obviously that's going to play a role in it being more expensive, but it's also going to play a role in how much you need to use and how long it will last. So for instance, for me, I will typically just apply 2 spritzes to the pulse points on, basically behind my ears and side of my neck, either side. And then I'll just kind of take my wrists and like dab a little bit of the extra off. And that's more than enough. So we're going to go in. Oh my God. Oh my God, fuck me! Yeah, it's, I don't even, it's just wonderful. Yeah, so when you first apply this, you do get straight up that like punchy, earthy greenness of the Oakmoss itself on that top, and it's very just bright, and it'll fill the room. A touch of almost like fruity sweetness at first too, which dissipates pretty quickly, and then that just gives way to this very like, just earthy, leathery, just sexy fucking, I can't even, yeah. Now, so as I mentioned, it's strong, so this is, for the first at least like half hour, it is a room filler. Like you can walk in and like people gonna smell it. I would say after about a half an hour is like when the dry down takes place, and so that's when it kind of dials itself back a little bit, and the fragrance will change a little bit, so you can more easily smell some of those middle notes. You can get a little bit more of the patchouli and like the leather, and I don't know what cocaine smells like, but there's cocaine in there, so I guess you can smell that. I don't know, but it is, so the perfumer said they wanted an addictive note, and oh boy, did they get an addictive note. I mean, like, I can't get enough of it. Like, to me, it just smells, just sexy is the best word I can describe. It smells amazing, and after the dry down takes place, the scent isn't going anywhere. So I would say that now we're talking about the sillage, or how long does it present? So in other words, how long does it stay strong enough that, say I were to walk past somebody, would they still smell it? Hours, literally hours. As by way of an example, I will put this on at like 6 o'clock in the morning before I go to work. And when I come home, I get home like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And Allie can still smell it clear as day. And it's not strong to the point where it's like overpowering, or like you're just, constantly just like, oh God, it's too strong. No, like when I get like I can smell it on myself, especially like wearing a mask at work. That probably helps kind of keep it in my nose. I don't know, whatever. But like for the first at least 6 to 8 hours of the day, I'll catch a whiff of it every now and then on myself, which normally, after I put a fragrance on, like any cheaper one, or less concentrated one, I should say, I guess, I can't smell it on myself after like 30 minutes. It's not there. And I always thought that was just me going like nose blind to it, how that happens with things, which maybe that's part of it. But with this, that doesn't happen. Like I can still smell it every now and then as the day goes on. And every time I do, it's like, oh yes. Fuck. And so even after a full, say 8 to 10 hour workday, I can come home, Allie can still smell it on me. And then at that point, it's more of a skin fragrance. I mean, it's not like I can just walk into a room and people are like, oh. You know, it's more like if somebody comes in for a hug or gets close enough to you, they're still gonna smell it. But it's not gonna be like overpowering and just like constantly assaulting everyone's senses. I don't know. The point is, it lasts a bloody long time. It lasts on clothing also. So, you know, literally this morning, I picked up a hoodie that I haven't worn in a week. And as I was pulling it over my head, I could still smell a little bit of Vert Gothique on there, which is awesome. So it's definitely, this is something that if you can pay the price tag, you're going to get the lifetime that you want out of it, because like I said, you only need to use such a small amount, and it is so potent and so strong that, you know, with only using 2 little spritzes, it lasts a full day, even into the next day, I would say. So yeah, overall thought, well, I can toss the box, the empty box. Overall thoughts on the new Vert Gothique fragrance, well, not new, the rebranded Vert Gothique fragrance from Morris Motley. It's my favorite fragrance. Like, I'm not even kidding. After I did that first impressions video after using a sample of it like 3 years ago, I had gotten a couple more of those samples from Fleek Fellows, and I was like using it sparingly because I loved it so much that I wanted it to last as long as it possibly could, because I wanted the full bottle, but I was like, I'm not paying $250 for it. However, after my samples ran out, I was like, well, I've never splurged and treated myself to, you know, an expensive fragrance. And if there is any that I'm going to spend that kind of money on, it's going to be this one. So at that point, then I was started to look like, all right, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to buy a bottle. But of course, at that point, it had sold out and it wasn't anywhere. No one had it. So I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for them to make more of it. So when I started seeing some little things on their Instagram that they were working on a re-release, I got really stoked, and then I feel bad because I was bothering them in their DMs like, when's it coming out? When can I get it? You know. So literally, and I was like, I would get up in the morning and like have a cup of coffee and like check the Morris Motley website, like, is it out yet? And one morning it was finally there, and I was like, I clicked buy so fast, and I'm really happy that I did, because, well, it does still kind of hurt a little bit to like spend that much money on anything, really. I am 1000% happy that I bought this, and totally would do it again when I run out. And as I mentioned before, I'm excited that they're doing a 50 ml release also, because, you know, obviously that's going to take the price down considerably. So I think that, you know, this fragrance will become much more accessible to people, so more people can get their hands on it, more people can try it out, which is awesome. Very smart. But yeah, it's, I love it. It's amazing. This, I mean, and I've used a lot of products from Morris Motley over the past few years. I mean, I've, you know, all their stylers and washes and things. And if you've watched my reviews, you know that like I've always enjoyed their products, but I was never like blown away by them. This one I am blown away by, and constantly, every time I use it, I'm like, fuck, yes! This is hands down my favorite Morris Motley product, and like I said, this is my favorite fragrance now. Like, this is my scent. You know, like I know some guys like to use different fragrances for different seasons and stuff. Oh, and actually that reminds me. So people were asking like, oh, is it a good, you know, summer fragrance, winter fragrance, whatever. I don't, as far as I'm concerned, it smells great year round to me. I mean, I don't think it smells too, you know, wintry. Like, it's not too spicy or warm. That would be, I guess, would make sense for winter. And it's not too aquatic and citrusy like for the summer. I think it's somewhere in between, and it's definitely, you know, maybe it's not for everybody because it is pretty earthy smelling, but like in the best way possible. I don't know. So yeah, if you can, and I do believe they have some samples. I think, I don't exactly. I would send Morris Motley a message if you're looking to get a sample of it. But yeah, if you were thinking about buying this, fucking get it. It's amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's great. And you know, one of the main things for me, like, okay, so I said, like, this is kind of my scent now. So this is something like, you know, even Allie said, like, well, if I smell that, and like, oh, it smells like you. It's such a unique fragrance. I mean, I talked about that a little bit before. You know, I've worn not that many, but I'm not Jeremy Fragrance or anything, but I've worn a fair amount of colognes over the years. Nothing I've ever used smells anything even remotely like this at all. And when I used up my samples and then I couldn't find a full bottle and I was like really jonesing for it, I tried a few other fragrances that had like Oakmoss in the name or in the notes, or, you know, I tried to find something like, oh, maybe this will smell similar enough that like it'll satiate me. No, nothing comes close. Nothing smells anything like this at all. And this just destroys all of them. Like, you know, some of those things I had gotten, like, yeah, they smelled okay. Nothing like Vert Gothique. So, my throat's dry now, because I talked a lot more than usual in this video, I think. Yeah, that wraps things up. So, I hope that I did an okay job for my first, like, proper fragrance review. I know that, you know, that probably the fraghead guys out there might not enjoy my method. I don't know. I feel like if I were to start reviewing fragrances, I would definitely try to tweak this format and make it make more sense. But also, I don't really plan to start reviewing a lot of fragrances because they're fucking expensive. So unless there are brands out there watching and y'all want to send me some, you know, I can't be buying $250 fragrances all the time. I just can't. I can't do it. But that does it for today's video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this and found it helpful. I do have plenty more stuff coming up soon. I have the re-release of Pioneer Matte Paste from Lodestar. I think that's coming up next. I've got the Iconic Clay Pomade. I have some Mailroom Barber stuff on the way. I've got all kinds of goodies. So if you haven't already, feel free to hit the subscribe button down below to keep up to date with all that stuff. And as always, thank you guys so much for coming by and watching. And we'll see you at the next one.